According to the Department of Veterans Affairs, since 2001, more veterans have committed suicide than have died in combat operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. It is estimated that 22 veterans kill themselves every day. That's one suicide every 65 minutes. And while only 1% of Americans have served in active military duty, former service members account for 20% of all suicides in the United States. A new HBO documentary, Crisis Hotline, Veterans Press 1, shines a spotlight on the epidemic of military suicides. The film features the employees of a veterans hotline in upstate New York, men and women who receive 22,000 calls a month from veterans in crisis.
So you're saying that what you're telling me is that people have to do something drastic before they get help. That's what you're saying. I understand that you're in a lot of pain, that you're hurting. I understand that you can't work. I understand that you're having flashbacks. I understand that you're having repetitive dreams, night sweats. That's a lot of stress for one person. You want to be able to help your family. Do you have any weapons in the house besides yourself? Because I know that you told me you're your own weapon.
Joining us now from New York is the Senior Program Manager of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, Jason Hansman, and filmmaker Ellen Gusenberg, director of HBO's Crisis Hotline, Veterans Press 1. Ellen, I'd like to start with you. You've made 3 documentaries on veterans in the past 6 years. How did you find out about this crisis call center, and what drew you to it?
You know, we had been talking to veterans for years. And we recognized that there was sort of a story that underlied practically everything else we were hearing about, and that was about how really difficult it is to transition to civilian life. You know, nobody tells you that it's dangerous and deadly to come home. You know that it's dangerous to go to war. And so we thought, what can we do? This is a big, big system, the VA. It's got a lot of problems, but there certainly has to be a way that we can get a message to veterans that there is effective help for them. They don't have to go it alone, and that it's just as brave to seek help as it was to sign up to fight.
Jason, you were a veteran of the Iraq War, and I guess I would ask you, do you think this generation of post 9/11 service members is different than the veterans of other wars?
You know, I think every generation is a little bit different. The challenges that they face, especially, you know, compared to Vietnam and Iraq and Afghanistan are very different. And I think what's unique about this generation especially is that, as you said in the intro, it's less than 1/2 or 1% of the American population, which leads to one of the big issues that is leading to these suicides, which is isolation. So you could be in the middle of Montana and be the only vet within 100 miles and not within 200 miles of a VA.
You know, Bill, we're talking about this generation of soldiers who are coming back to the United States, and there's a huge argument, as you're well aware of, about the social safety net and who is dependent on government handouts. And there's so much misinformation and I think a real effort to shame and humiliate people who need a leg up. And in fact, 900,000 of the people on food stamps on any given month are veterans. Veterans face looming unemployment crises. They are some of the people who are the most vulnerable in society. And I think that reality is something that needs to be brought into the larger debate as we talk about what this country does for those who need the most.
Well, when you look at how the debate unfolded around the shutdown, around the debt ceiling talks, it seemed like this esoteric classroom discussion over, you know, how much spending is good spending, what's bad spending, the Mitt Romney takers and doers. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're talking about real human costs to the shutdown, real human costs to these mindless cuts to some of the most important programs that serve, you know, our veterans, but also some of the most vulnerable in our society.